Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI. For the second time in less than 6 months, President Muhammadu Buhari has been pronounced winner of the February 23rd presidential election, again flooring major opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar. In the February elections, Buhari garnered over 15 million votes, topping the ballot in 19 states, while Abubakar came a distant second with 11.2 million votes, securing the remaining 17 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the figures were, however, contested by Abubakar, who claims he received 1 million votes more than Buhari, quoting figures, of course, obtained from an alleged INEC server. Approaching the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, Abubakar and his People's Democratic Party prayed the court to nullify Buhari's victory on grounds that the election was marred by irregularities and that the incumbent president lacked the required educational qualification to contest the poll. In 177 days, 69 witnesses were presented, applications were filed, objections were overruled, and of course, a verdict was delivered. All claims of the opposition were unanimously dismissed by a 5-man panel of the tribunal led by Justice Garba Muhammad on the grounds that the appellant failed to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. The tribunal's verdict has been hailed by many Nigerians, including the APC chairman Adams Oshomole, who has now extended an olive branch to the opposition. But the contest is far from over for the PDP, which has now vowed to appeal the verdict at the Supreme Court.
Whether you voted for Buhari or you voted for Atiku or you voted for all of the other candidates that participated, people made sacrifices. And they did that believing that whoever prevailed at the end of the day will add value to their life. It is time now to close rank, work with the president, and assist him to deliver on that mandate. It's a win-win for all. I don't think PDP has lost. They suspected that they were cheated, and they be reassured that they were not cheated. It's just that they were not preferred. And the good news, they have a chance another day. They had chance for 16 years. We are just doing 4.5. And so I don't think they will grumble us. So I appreciate them for going to court, and I'm happy that nobody is going to resort to self-help.
There's no question about that we are appealing this judgment. A lot of things are wrong with it. Poor evaluation of evidence, non-evaluation of evidence, misplacement of exactly what the case of the petitioners is. The fact that certain provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act were misinterpreted and misapplied. There is so much to appeal against.
Now, days after that verdict, governors of the All Progressives Congress and, of course, senior officials of the party met with President Buhari at State House. Now, the president used that opportunity to give his own reaction now to the verdict of the tribunal. Take a listen to what the president had to say.
I very much appreciate this effort you have made to come and congratulate me and you, because if I have lost this case, I think the impact downstairs, I don't know how far it will go. So we are here to congratulate each other, and we thank God for His mercies.
Let's continue this conversation on the decision, the verdict now of the election petition, Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Now, I'm not being joined on the program by Chief Robert Clarke, SAN, who, of course, a well-respected lawyer in the country. Thank you very much, Chief, for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking for your own take now on that verdict by the tribunal.
I have always maintained that it is always a difficult task under the electoral law of Nigeria for any petitioner to win an election against INEC. Why I always say this is that the odds are so much against the petitioner because the Evidence Act in Nigeria says whatever INEC does, there is a presumption that it is regular. It is for you.
But we've seen cases. Sorry, Chief, but we've seen cases where, we've seen cases that were won against INEC. We've seen cases where petitions against INEC were actually won in court.
We are talking about the presidential election, where the constituencies involved are so numerous, where there are votes from 36 states. You see, when you restrict election petitions to senatorial seats, the gubernatorial, you have lessened the burden. But when it is the presidential election, you know you have to deal with 36 states. And if you listen to what the tribunal said yesterday, the petitioner, Atiku, only brought malpractices during the election in 13 states out of 36 states. How do you, hope to show that the election was marred by, irregularities when you can only bring evidence in relation to only 13 out of the 36 states? And the law says not only must you show that there were malpractices, but you must also show that they affected the result. So it is not an easy task when it comes to presidential election. It can easily be surmounted when you're talking about, a senatorial seat out of 100 senatorial seats. So you can know what I'm talking about, insurmountable. Absolutely. That is my point.
Now, but it was just not on the issue of malpractices alone that Atiku and the PDP actually went to court for. They also had, they also filed a petition against the president on the basis of his qualification for the election in the first place. I'm talking about his academic qualifications.
The minimum requirement for anybody to contest an election is well laid out in the Constitution. This matter, which says that you must have at least attained a secondary school level or its equivalent, has been tested in many cases in the Supreme Court, and the foundation has been laid in law. You see, anytime you are challenging somebody, the onus is on you to bring out the evidence which you want the tribunal to use. The tribunal was saying yesterday, or day before yesterday, that look, you claimed this man does not possess the West African School Certificate. You relied on the evidence of a brigadier who, said in a press conference about a year ago that in their file, they don't have his certificate. Now, for you now to prove that he doesn't have, you did not bring this man to court to come and testify. You were relying on his evidence without calling him to give evidence. In law, such an evidence has no evidentiary value. Against the allegations that he does not have it, Buhari brought an army file, his personal file in the army, brought it before the tribunal, and the tribunal's evidence was called from it that, look, this man's file shows that when he was entering the military institution, there was a recommendation from his school that he had attained the status of a school-leaving student, that he has taken an exam, that the result is being awaited, and that they are sure that if the result comes out, he will pass in so subjects. So there was before the tribunal the evidence which you did not put, but which he placed before them, that he attended a secondary school. Forget about certificate. A certificate means nothing, because the Supreme Court says if even he does not have the certificate, but if he has attained a standard in life over and above the certificate you are talking about, and as the tribunal rightly said, this man joined the army up to the grade of a general. So what more are you talking about qualification? That area of law has been settled. They are just bringing politics into all these things. That is the position.
And what's your take now on the ruling of the tribunal now on the issue of INEC server? Because that was a very contentious one.
You see, to you and to laymen who are not learned in law, it is contentious. But to us lawyers, I have always said it, that you must, if you bring a matter before the tribunal, you must help the tribunal with evidence. Without evidence, the tribunal cannot do anything. It is not a question of semantics. What Atiku said was that there was a server. Okay. INEC says there was no server. We did not use it. So before the tribunal, he who asserts must prove. Atiku brought a witness and told the tribunal that yes, there was a server. And under cross-examination, he was asked, where did you get this evidence from? He said from the whistleblower, from a third party. You see, in law, that evidence has no credibility because it is what we lawyers regard as hearsay evidence. If you knew you got an information from a third party, why did you not bring that third party to the tribunal to come and give positive and direct evidence to that fact? You are relying on a person who got that information from a third party, and such evidence in law, we lawyers regard as hearsay and has no credibility. So these are the things which are not known to the layman. It is not enough to shout, shout, shout. When the battle comes to be fought, you must produce evidence. The courts rely on evidence. Without evidence, you cannot do anything.
And of course, directly related to that is the issue of whether results were transmitted electronically. Of course, you're aware the way the tribunal ruled.
The tribunal says we have looked into the law, we have looked into the guidelines. There is no way where the law, which is guiding INEC to conduct an election, makes it imperative on them, to transmit electronically. You see, we have to follow the law. Well, let me just say this. You see, this is not the first time presidential elections have been held under this 1999 Constitution. The man you are challenging his results now had contested this election too and lost on 3 occasions. So he knows what is involved in this thing. All the 3 periods he lost, I don't think all this hue and cry were being made out of it. We all know from the beginning, I, Robert Clarke, by virtue of my experience in election matter, I have said it categorically, that Atiku can never win on the basis of the evidence he has produced, because it is not enough evidence to warrant a tribunal to give him judgment. It is difficult without proof. You can't imagine a tribunal getting evidence from the sky in order to satisfy one. But no, they have to go by facts. And the petitioner never brought any reasonable facts upon which the tribunal could, help him out.
So on the whole, how would you assess the performance of the tribunal on the whole?
You see, the tribunal goes by the evidence before it. And as lawyers, when a tribunal sits and reviews and looks at the evidence before it, it must go by that evidence. This tribunal that gave this judgment has satisfied all of us who are knowledgeable in law that the foundation of that judgment was based on the evidence before the tribunal. And I agree with them. There was nothing placed before them that will have made them to give any other judgment than the judgment they had given.
So are you then surprised that Atiku Abubakar, the PDP, of course, have said that they're going to appeal. They're heading to the Supreme Court.
You see, nobody will deny them the constitutional right to appeal. As I said, there is more politics in all these things than the reality. Let us be honest about it. 70% of supporters of PDP today, 70% supporters of APC, they know nothing about what is going on in the tribunal. It is what their people tell them. I heard was it on channels yesterday, somebody from Onitsha just talking and just appealing to his own people. It's all politics. Nobody says they should not go, but I can tell you that what they got from this tribunal is what they are going to get from the Supreme Court, because the evidence used in this tribunal is the same evidence the Supreme Court is going to look into. And except you and I believe any other evidence can come, they can never win. Let us be honest about it. But let them play the politics. Everything in Nigeria has been turned into politics. This is not the first time a presidential candidate. The worst one we ever saw in Nigeria was in 2007, which was a glaring, manipulation. But yet, Buhari accepted it then. International organization rejected it. But for the security of Nigeria, Yar'Adua's election was accepted. But it was the worst election we have ever seen in Nigeria.
So, but Chief, there's something I have to ask you. As a lawyer, a lawyer of very many years standing, why is it? I want you to just explain where the problem is here. When a politician, loses a case, let's say a bad case in court, is it difficult for his lawyers now to tell him, look, there's just no need going on appeal on this, just take this and let's move on? Or is it that the lawyers actually, egg their clients on to go on appeal just because they want to make money? Because it's something that is difficult to understand.
Well, what I'm going to say, which is the truth, will make many of my colleagues not to like me. But I will say it. You see, most of my colleagues, we believe that politicians have access to easy money. So many of us want to act for governor-elect rather than acting for, the governor who has lost. We want to get, because we know they have access to money. So having had that knowledge that there is easy money, many of us, and I'm subject to anybody who wants to challenge me on this, will not look at the reality. Once there's a judgment against a politician, they say, don't worry, we will get it on appeal. Let us appeal. Instead of saying, look, let us sit down and look where we have gone wrong, whether we have enough evidence to go on appeal. But because, number one, they know their fees are there to be paid, and they are playing also to the ego of the politicians. So it's all politics. The politicians are playing politics. The lawyers are playing politics along with them. And I sympathize with Nigerians, but that is what is going on. And I agree with you. Many, many lawyers who are good lawyers will refuse to tell their clients, like the case on hand now. Where is the evidence to show that Buhari did not go to school? PDP did not produce it. The military man who made a statement 2 years ago was not brought before the court. So where are they going to manufacture? But the lawyers will not tell them. Where are they going to get the evidence now, even if they go to appeal? So I agree with you. Most of the problems also come from us lawyers. And I'm bound to be taken up on this by any lawyer. I am bound to be taken up.
Chief Robert Clarke, thank you very much for talking to us.
God bless you. Thank you.
Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. On DEJI 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that ballot.
DEJI 360, providing clarity to issues.